An economical immigrant for the 1930s depressive, Chris Moore leftward Newcastle in his household for a new lifetime in the southward east of England. Quickly following war ruined out and he ended up driving schools 5 times, generally out of his parents. He explains how he controlled to break down in the planet of Vogue photo, visiting each noticeable Shah above the history 60 year. I was just 4 persons year old while I leftward Newcastle in my parents. But lot other were making the identical, we were as a tribal and Geordies were all about me through my infancy though although lot of it was consumable in Essex. We excited southward and Newcastle came in us. It was quickly following we arriving in the southward to set up a new household how war ruined out and the kid vacuum policies intended how my education was a terrible chaos. I was excited 5 times in as lot year, every to a various building and high school and largest of the period out of my parents. Job was lightweight to go by and my dad organized my at first work. He was a large faithful in connecting a powerful association and jobs in print were desired and so pay. I don't he recall but he must include been frustrated how the location he shipped me to at G and Watson, though a print business, was in reality within their photo division. I leftward in a powerful engineering ground and I was suggested to fashion workshop as an aide a pair of year after. Their workshop in Shaftesbury Prospect in the centre of London did, of year, changing all for me. As a work-class lad I found the location, human beings and behavior at fashion in the 1950s fully various to whatever I had skilled up before later, it was a bit of a civilization upheaval in fact. But taking into account my stormy infancy I assume I had learnt by later to get changing in my step a bit more than rather than several would include. I treated for lot photographers for how period, but of year several stay out now since they became renowned, love Cecil Beaton and Henry Clark. Down there too much, I became aware of styling for the at first period. Up fashion studios, human beings, in my eyes, were tiring clothing. But I ultimately implemented how the identical clothing on various human beings were not definitely the identical, a man's styling is an person item. I passing to Paris for the haute couturier for the at first period in 1967. By the period I had set up my own industry and several of my Vogue clients were newspapers and periodicals concerned in cover the new change of seasons down there 2 times a year. The stage was very little compared to now and clique members were purified in suspect. We were not permitted in to photo the representation to clientele and though journalists would be deserted out if trapped drawing the designs, so paranoiac were the couturier houses of creature plagiarized. Instead of a few ensembles were choose to be photographed each in the saloon after or in the road external the events. It was after in the 1970s while the prepared to wear brands done a shove to draw buyers via organized trading weeks how the podium circuits were unborn. I include bin cover them continually always with. The period podium photograph was invented lot after, about the identical period as else flashy sentence the supermodel, several period in the previous 1990s. It looks charming of the external looking in, but in fact it is a hard industry in top levels of distress and natural hardships. Such of us how include endured following lot year are few and down there is a powerful partnership, particularly amongst the photographers. Of year in each favorable down there is a adverse and how I assume is the underside in the separated lifetime I include lived, period on the way is period off of household. My favorites include ever natural bin of designers who well groomed how their presentations would be really visible, knowledge how the Shah had to photo so to achieve the broad auditorium after in the news story print. Showman of the podium, love Thierry Mugler, Issey Miyake, Jean Gender Gaultier, Vivienne Westwood and Rei Kawakubo, later more than newly Miyochia Prada, Hussein Chalayan and of year John Galliano and Alexander McQueen. I include frequently enjoyed fair as lot testifying the cirque about the events and the emergency human beings in the shadows. If backroom or in the frontline number, I favorite next the styling antics of Italian fashion text editor Anna Piagai and styling icon Issy Strike who on several days would include modified 2 or 3 times a date. It is as well real how to several degree you can forecast the Vogue trends of which the frontline row is tiring or of how they are responsive to the shows, particularly the express on the person of Susie Manx, who I treated in for 25 really specific year at the World Vestnik podium. Later down there is as well US fashion text editor Andre Leontali who, since of his high growth and deliberate styling, would capture a lot of focus as he walked in a chamber in the all-powerful Anna Wintour. I assume it ever has done nice feeling to look the watchers. I include seen human beings in cash place in so lot selection how they do not aware which they should carry, and such in so lot less than build in person styling fair by stunning off a neck or art an old couple of shoes. Vogue is at its lowest while it dictate to the lot and at its top while it giving a background or sentiment to promote more than person expressions of styling. I include scientific how Vogue is for nobody who cares to be trendy, and how it has anything to do in year, grade, or sort. As said to Shion Davies.